This video was created using artificial intelligence, AI, for educational and narrative purposes. All characters and events are fictionalized representations inspired by historical realities. Viewer discretion is advised.
Why it sucks to be a litter of newborn kittens left to die in the cold is something you feel before you can even see. It is a cold so deep it feels like burning. It is an ache in bones that have not even finished growing yet. We were just tiny things. Our eyes were barely open, still cloudy and unfocused. We were supposed to be warm. We were supposed to be safe, tucked against soft fur, listening to a steady heartbeat. Instead, my world is hard cardboard that smells like rain and old mold. The air bites my wet nose. It stings my delicate ears. I am piled on top of my brother and sister, Leo and Luna. We are a small knot of shivering fur, trying desperately to share warmth that we do not have. I can feel Leo shaking violently underneath me. I can feel Luna getting still, too still, against my side. We are crying, a high-pitched chorus of distress, but the sound is weak now. Our energy is fading. The wind howling outside is much louder than our tiny voices. We are waiting for something. We don't know what death is yet, but we can feel it creeping in through the cracks of the soggy box, wrapping around our tiny bodies like an icy, suffocating blanket. If this story is already touching your heart, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like this video. It helps share our voices with the world. I want to ask you something important. Where are you watching from right now? And do you see many animals abandoned on the streets of your own city? Tell me your experiences in the comments below. Before the cold, there was only warmth. My memory of that time is blurry, like looking through thick fog, because I was so very young. But I remember the feeling. The entire world was small, soft, and smelled intensely of warm milk and comfort. That world was my mother. She was everything. Her fur was a vast landscape of safety that I could bury myself into. When I pressed my ear against her side, I heard the rhythm of the universe thump. It was the sound that meant we were alive. We didn't need eyes to find her. We followed the heat. We nursed until our bellies were full and round. Then we slept in a tangled pile, overlapping with mother's paws. There was no fear in that world. There was no hunger. There was only the gentle rasp of her tongue cleaning my new fur, telling me I belonged, telling me I was precious. I thought that warmth would last forever. I was naive. I did not know yet that warmth could be taken away so violently. The end of our world happened fast. I was sleeping deeply, dreaming of milk, when the ceiling of our warm nest was ripped away. Bright, harsh light flooded in, hurting my new eyes. Then came the hands. They were not soft and careful like mother's paws. They were gigantic, rough, and smelled sharp, like stale smoke and dirt. I hissed, a tiny, pathetic spit of air, trying to be brave. But the hands were too strong. I was lifted up, away from the heat source, away from the heartbeat. I cried out for mother! A high-pitched squeak of sheer terror. I heard her calling back, frantic and loud, but her voice was getting further away with every second. Then there was a sickening drop through the air. I landed hard on something cold and flat. My sister Luna landed next to me. Then Leo landed on top of us. We scrambled over each other, confused and blind with panic, mewing desperately. Then the lid closed over us. Darkness returned, but this was not the warm darkness of safety. This was a cold, suffocating darkness where we're moping. The box bounced and shook violently. We smelled exhaust fumes and heard loud, terrifying noises that made our tiny hearts hammer against our ribs. We didn't know where we were going, but we knew, with a dreadful certainty, that we had lost everything. The movement stopped with a final jolt. The box was tossed through the air. We tumbled inside, a mess of tiny limbs and soft cries. Then silence settled, heavy and terrifying. We were somewhere else now. The air that seeped through the cardboard seams was freezing, much colder than before. It smelled of wet concrete and deep winter. We tried to do what we always did. We crawled into a desperate pile, seeking the center, seeking heat. But without Mother, there was no central heat source to find. We were just 3 tiny engines running out of fuel rapidly. Hours passed in the dark or maybe days. Time is strange and elastic when you are freezing. We heard things outside our cardboard prison. Heavy footsteps walked past, crunching loudly on snow. We cried out, using all the energy we had left, a unified plea for help. We are here. We are cold. Please. But the footsteps never slowed down. Cars roared past, shaking the icy ground beneath our box, spraying slush against the sides. No one stopped. We were invisible. We were less than nothing to the world outside. We were just a soggy cardboard box, sitting in a dirty alleyway, something to step around, something to ignore. The hunger began to claw at my stomach, a sharp pain that rivaled the cold. But the cold was worse. It was a thief, slowly, methodically stealing the feeling from my tail, then my paws, then my ears. The night got deeper, and the cold got sharper. It felt like thousands of little needles piercing my thin skin. Leo, my strong orange brother who always fought the hardest for the best milk spot, stopped trying to climb the slippery walls of the box. He just lay shivering violently, his breaths coming in short, sharp gasps that puffed white in the dark. Then there was Luna, the smallest of us, with her beautiful patches of black and orange fur. She had been tucked underneath me for warmth. I realized with a jolt of pure terror that she had stopped shivering. I nuzzled her tiny face with my cold nose. She was still warm, but the warmth was fading fast, leaking out into the frozen air. She didn't move. She didn't make a sound. A profound, heavy sadness settled over me, heavier than the snow I could hear piling up outside. I realized Mother was not coming. No one was coming. This box was not just a prison. It was going to be our tomb. I was so tired. The shivering hurt my muscles. It felt easier to just stop fighting. It was easier to let the cold take over. I laid my heavy head down on Luna's quiet fur. I stopped crying. I closed my heavy eyes and waited for the darkness to swallow me completely. I was drifting away on a freezing river of sleep when the world broke open again. The top of the box was ripped off. I flinched, expecting the rough hands and the smoke smell. But this time, a bright beam of warm light cut through the darkness, blinding me. A face appeared in the opening, framed by the night sky. It was a human face, but different from the giants before. This face was surrounded by a halo of warm breath in the cold air. I heard a sound I had never heard before, a sharp gasp of horror, then a soft voice, shaking slightly. "Oh no! Oh, you poor tiny things!" Warmth descended upon us like a physical force. Hands, unbelievably hot and gentle, reached into our frozen tomb. They didn't grab, they scooped. I felt myself being lifted, cradled against something incredibly soft and warm, a thick wool coat. I smelled something new. Not milk, not smoke, but something clean and kind. The human. Elena tucked me inside her coat, right against her chest skin. I heard it again. Thump thump. Thump thump. A heartbeat. It was louder and slower than Mother's, but it was strong and steady. It was the sound of life. She gathered Leo and Luna too, pressing us all against her warmth. I felt a faint stir from Leo as the heat hit him. I wasn't sure about Luna, but for the first time since the box closed, I didn't feel the immediate, biting sting of the ice. The next few hours were a blur of sudden, shocking warmth and strange noises. We were in a car again, but this time hot air blew on us, thawing our frozen bones. Elena kept rubbing us briskly with her warm hands, breathing warm air onto our tiny, rigid body. We arrived at a place that smelled antiseptic and sharp, with bright lights and other humans in white coats who moved with urgency. They worked fast. They put us on heating pads that felt like heaven itself. They put tiny tubes in our noses. I remember the first time I tasted milk again. It was from a bottle, not mother, and the rubber nipple was strange. But the milk was warm and sweet, and it filled the painful hollow in my stomach. We were fighters, but the cold had taken a deep toll on our tiny body. We almost lost Luna that first night. Her temperature was so low, her heartbeat so faint. Elena stayed awake the entire night, holding Luna against her skin, whispering to her, willing her to stay in this world. And somehow, she did. Luna came back from the edge. It took weeks for the deep shivering to truly stop. It took longer for the fear to leave my heart. For a long time, whenever a door opened quickly, I would flatten myself to the ground, waiting to be grabbed by rough hands and tossed back into the cold. But Elena was patient. Her hands were always slow and predictable. Her voice was always soft. Slowly, I realized that this warmth was not going to be taken away. My gray fur grew thick and shiny. The white patch on my chest became brighter. I learned how to purr again, a rusty sound at first that soon became a rumble. I learned that hands could be good things, things that gave scratches behind the ears and held feather toys. I am older now. I am strong. I sit in a sunbeam on a soft carpet, watching dust motes dance in the light. Leo is chasing a toy mouse in the hallway, and Luna is sleeping soundly on the high back of the couch. We survived, but I never forget the box. I never forget the cold that almost claimed us before we even had names. Sometimes, when winter comes and the wind howls outside the window, I shiver, remembering the feeling of my sister growing still beside me in the dark. We were a trust discarded in an alley to freeze, and then we were the difference between freezing to death in the dark and sleeping in a sunbeam was just one moment of compassion from a stranger. It only took one human to change everything. Please, be that human. When you see a box by the side of the road or a frightened pair of eyes in an alley, do not look away. Do not keep walking. Because for someone small and helpless, your glance might be the only thing standing between life and a cold, lonely death.